Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here. Today we're going to talk about Doctor Who the Collection and the color schemes associated possibly with future sets coming out. Now we did just recently get the announcement for Season 9, which is predominantly purple, which we knew it was going to be ahead of time. Lee Binding had mentioned that already, that purple was going to be the predominant color for it. It's how a lot of us knew, or were 99% certain it was going to be Season 9. As that color runs through that season a lot, especially with Peladon. So I thought it would be fun to kind of take the remaining seasons and maybe try to pick what might be the main color scheme for that box set. Now I don't have answers for all of them. Some of the 80s ones especially get really tricky because their colors are just kind of all over the place sometimes. But I thought I'd go through and give you theories I might have and kind of ask you guys what you think might happen. Now for Series 1, it's really hard to say. I mean, you could go, at some point in the 60s, you could do a box set that's kind of a silver color to kind of, as a nod to the black and white of the era, of the decade. So you could still have the villains and the Doctor in color, but the background could be not necessarily white, but a very silver color. That would fit with some seasons, especially like if the Cybermen are heavily in that season, it would kind of work for that, or if they're on a lot of silver spaceships. But for Series 1, I always picture it as in red. Maybe, I think sometimes I'm influenced by some of the fan art people have done for sets that haven't come out yet, or some of the DVDs for stories in a season. And like somebody has really good fan art of a Season 1 box set that's in red. It looks really good. So I could see red, or I could see like a yellow or gold for Season 1. I don't know if they would do another blue, with Series 2 being blue. Now you could do a different shade of blue, and I still think that would fit Season 1. But I think red, yellow, or gold would also fit Season 1 really well. I wouldn't mind seeing red, and I don't know if they would do red for a first season. It's a very strong color. Maybe a different shade of blue. I'm curious to see what they're going to do for Season 1. Season 3, I can't pick one. Like, I have tried. I have not come up with a good color for Season 3. I just can't seem to. I haven't seen all of Season 3, so there's never a color that just sticks out at me for Season 3. Same problem with Season 4. I don't have a specific color that jumps out at me for Season 4, although I will come back to that in a minute. Now for Season 5, I picture it as green. Now part of this, again, could be because somebody's done some really good fan art for Season 5 that is predominantly green, with the Doctor playing his recorder from Fury from the Deep. And that's really good fan art. I've used it as my thumbnail in some videos. And so that could be influencing me. But also, it's the season that has Fury from the Deep, with the green seaweed, and it also has the very first Ice Warriors story, the Ice Warriors. So that's a couple green characters that really stick out in my head. So I can see, and also there's a lot of, I'm dropping stuff. There's a lot of monsters in that season. You can associate green with monsters. So I think green would be a strong color for Season 5. I could see that working really well. Season 6, I always picture as like a purple or magenta or bluish purple type color. I think something in that color scheme works for Season 6. Maybe I'm being influenced by some of the DVDs, like the Crotons has that kind of magenta pinkish background, Dominators has that kind of bluish purple background. So I may be getting influenced by some of those, but I do think like a darker purple to a light magenta could be really good for Season 6, although I think a bluish purple would work really good for Season 6 as well. I really think Troughton needs a blue season, though. That might be good for Season 4, because I think that would go really well with his blue eyes, which to me, his eyes, especially when you see stories when he's in color, his eyes really stand out. To me, blue eyes really stand out on someone with dark hair. I tend to like girls with dark hair and blue eyes. So I notice things like that. His eyes, I think, would stand out. Also, his blue shirt and the blue on his recorder, if it's a season when he's holding or playing his recorder. I think you have a blue background to match all of those, and I think that would blend together really well in that shade of blue that's kind of similar to his eyes, shirt, and on the stripe of his recorder. So I definitely think one of his seasons needs to be that shade of blue with the lettering, Doctor Who, the collection, matching it. Because I tend to like when the lettering matches the predominant color instead of when it goes the opposite, usually. Not always. For season 7, red. You got to go red. And this is probably influenced a lot by Inferno. I love Inferno, but Inferno is one of the well-regarded Pertwee stories. It's one of the famous Classic Who stories, one of the famous Pertwee stories. I think it's definitely the standout of the season. A lot of it's going to depend on which story Lee focuses on, I think, for the cover. I mean, I could see him doing Spearhead. It would make sense to do Spearhead, but I'd love to see Inferno on the cover. Like, it would be in red. You could have kind of flames in the background coming up, like fire consuming, all that kind of stuff, to death and destruction behind him, that kind of thing. That would be a cover that reaches out and grabs your attention, I think. Just the flames and the fire and the red and the orange going behind you, or behind the Doctor. I would love that. That's what I want for season 7. I want it red, I want it to focus on Inferno, and I want flames in the background. That's what I really want for season 7. I want people to look at that season 7 box set and go, I want to buy that. That looks awesome. I'll bring that up again in a minute. For season 11, it's got to be blue. Because, I mean, to me, this is the give me. Of all of the ones left, the one that I think a lot of us know needs to be a certain color is 11. Because it needs to be the blue from the crystal from Planet of the Spiders, the Metabolus 3 crystal. It needs to be that kind of darker blue. He needs to be wearing his Planet of the Spiders outfit, and he needs to be holding the Metabolus 3 crystal. I think we all agree on that. And so the color for that one has to be blue. It has to be that kind of darker blue that the crystal's colored. I think that fits. Isn't he wearing a blue jacket as well? So that would work in that story, as I recall. And then I think, of course, the lettering also needs to be that darker blue. Because I don't know if we've had just darker blue on a cover yet, like a dark blue, like the shade of the Metabolus crystal blue. So to me, that's a gimme. That is the one where if he goes a different direction, I'm going to be like, what? I think that's kind of the one. We're like, we know what that's going to be. You don't have to surprise us, Lee. I'm cool with that. I want that. I want that blue. I like the color blue, so I want that blue. Now we go for 13. 13 is hard for me. I have thought long and hard on 13 because it's, for me, the colors that tend to stand out for me on 13 is more of a neutral color, like brown. There's a lot of brown and oranges and reds and like topaz and stuff like that in that. You have the orange, red, browns of the Zygons and their ship, that very organic ship they have. Pyramids of Mars. They're in a lot of houses that are old school houses that have a lot of brown. There's a lot of brown in Pyramids of Mars if you really look. Planet of Evil has a lot of red in it. I think Android Invasion also has a lot of kind of brown neutral colors in it, especially when they're doing the location work. Seeds of Doom has more green in it, but there's also a lot of brown in it once they get to the house. It's an old school house, a lot of browns, a lot of neutral colors. Whereas Brain of Morbius to me has a lot of red in it. Just for some reason, and again, maybe that's the DVD cover influencing me, but I feel like there's a lot of red in that story. Maybe a lot of it also is the red the Sisterhood of Karn wears. So I really don't know, because I don't think you just do a brown cover. That's not going to be very attention-getting. And season 13 is one, you want it to reach out. It is the horror season. That's the cover I want to scare me. I don't think it should be green. I don't think that works for it. I think you need like a topaz or a gold or a brownish gold or a red. Those kind of colors. What did I actually write for it? Orange, gold, browns. That's what I wrote. Orange, gold, browns. Maybe some reds with the orange. It's really hard for 13, because 13 I want to scare me. 13 is like 7. I want it to be attention-getting. It's like, hey, I'm season 13. I'm one of the greatest seasons of Doctor Who ever. Get over here and buy me. So it needs to look cool. It needs to look scary. It needs to reach out and grab you. So I'm really curious to see the color Lee's going to go with for season 13. Because to me, it's got to be a red, a brown, orangish, gold, topaz-like color. It's really hard for me to pick up. I think that's one that could do multiple colors. Kind of like how season 17 has a lot of different colors going on. A lot of the 80s ones have a lot of different colors going on. I think you could mix kind of gold, orangish, reddish colors in there. It's definitely a serious, scary season. So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen with that one. Season 15, it depends on which story Lee goes with. I think there's two choices. One, green. Green's a strong choice. We already have green with 17, though, but I think green is a strong choice. And I think it needs to be Horror of Fang Rock green, the glowing green of the Rutan, or maybe a little darker. Because I always love that green glow in Horror of Fang Rock with the Rutan. It's so iconic. And I think you need to have the lighthouse in the background. Like when in the artwork on the cover, when you have all the enemies below the Doctor, it needs to have the lighthouse rising up behind it in the middle with eerie green light shining out of it. Kind of like how the 23 season box set has that column of light from the Time Lord ship shooting up out of it, that drags the TARDIS down. I think season 15 needs the lighthouse behind all of the enemies in the middle, standing tall, with eerie green light shining out of it. So green would be perfect for Horror of Fang Rock. Or the alternative is yellow if you use the Sunmakers. I mean, there's 6 suns. And then Sunmakers also has a lot of yellow in it, like the outfits they wear are yellow, the workers. There's a lot of yellow in the Sunmakers. So I definitely think if you went with the Sunmakers on the cover, and you could have even the fake planets kind of in the background, kind of like how the time travel machines in the background on season 17. And plus, we haven't really gotten a yellow box set yet. I like getting new colors we haven't got yet, and at some point, I do want a yellow box set. I know that's not the most awesome standout color, but I would love to see a yellow box set, one that's predominantly yellow. I would enjoy that, and I think season 15 would be a good one for yellow. So yeah, either one of those, green for Horror of Fang Rock or yellow for the Sunmakers, would fit perfectly for that one. Season 16 is also pretty easy. It's got to be the Key to Time color, the whatever color you want to call that. Magenta, light purple, somewhere between magenta and purple. The color seems to kind of shift depending on the episode. The Key to Time segments, the color varies slightly. It's kind of similar to the cover of season 24. That magenta, maybe slightly darker than that. I mean, to me, that's kind of a give-me, much like season 11. I think season 16 needs to be the same color as the key. And on the cover, he could either be holding the tracker or one of the segments to the Key to Time. And that it needs to be that color. Whatever color you want to call the Key to Time, that's the color the box set needs to be. Season 20, I haven't been able to pick one. For some reason in my head, I always picture it being green, which makes no sense. I can't think of why season 20 would be green. But for some reason, in my head, that's the color I go to, green. If it ends up being green for whatever reason, I want to know immediately because I'm heading down to the casino because obviously my luck would be in. Talk about being prophetic. Because there's no reason I can think of for it to be green. So I can't really think of an objectively good color for season 20. The 80 seasons are hard anyway because they don't seem to be predominantly one color like some of the 70s and 60s sets have been. Their colors kind of vary all over the place. So I don't know if I have really a common color for 20. Same thing with 21. I don't really have a color I can think of that goes for season 21 right off. I can't picture anything. That one is just, I'll have to wait and see. Season 25, you have a couple options. Both of the current covers have kind of focused on McCoy's intro. And his intro varies so much throughout the course of the intro that season 25 could also do that. It could be the kind of spiral part. Like when it's spiraling down, you could kind of have the spiral going on in the background. In which case, purple would be a good predominant color, kind of a darker purple, like darker than the season 9 set purple, because purple is very predominant in the McCoy intro, so you could do a good purple there. That would work. So you could have the spiral in the background and a good purple intro. Or I think you could, looking at Dragonfire, it's a very kind of silver white. You could do a kind of bluish silver. I'm not sure what you could have in the background, although you could actually have maybe the layout from Dragonfire in the background. I actually do love the sets from Dragonfire a lot. I think it looks really good. And so you could do Season 25 in kind of a silvery blue, a very light blue. Although I don't know if that would fit in between Season 24 and Season 26 well. I think, again, I'd go more the darker purple. I'm curious to see what Lee's going to do for Season 25. I know he loves the McCoy era a lot. So, and I know he's already said the Doctor's expression is supposed to be kind of between the Season 24 kind of silly Doctor and the Season 26 very serious look on his face Doctor that are on those box sets. It's supposed to be kind of, because you're supposed to be see the growth of the character across those three sets, he's already said. So I'm curious to see the look that's going to be on the Season 25 set, see the color that goes for it. So those are my thoughts on it so far. I would like to know what you think of my thoughts and which colors you would pick for the seasons and which ones you're like, what, Prowl, I'm with you. I don't know on some of these. It's a tough call. So comment down below and let me know other things to do. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button. I am trying to grow the channel to 1,000 subscribers. That is my goal in 2023, so I appreciate any help with that. And the like button always helps me out with the YouTube algorithm, so I certainly appreciate that. I also have a Patreon. If you like what I do and would like to contribute to what I do, there's a link to that down in the description below. You get early access to a good chunk of videos there, exclusive videos there, including the unedited version of reaction reviews. Those are there, exclusively there, the unedited versions. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Finn Perkins, Stephen Crane, and Colin Coney. I appreciate their support as I do the support all of my patrons. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you would like to send me to look at and review. That's down in the description, as is a link to my Amazon wish list as well. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.